Welcome to Cash's live football show on a Monday, but on a Tuesday. Monday night show on a Tuesday. Hopefully we're live. And today we're going to cover a couple of topics. We're going to do the difference between formation, shape, and systems, and whether or not people understand that. And actually try to explain it in a better context than most people. Well, pretty much anything really. But I've got a couple of little drawery things I'm going to use. Now, when people are, the other things I'm going to talk about is a bit about Ruben Amorim. I'm going to mix that in with Manchester United and systems and shapes and formations. Arsenal, Liverpool, a little bit about that game on the weekend. Some about Isak playing and how Isak was Isak's transfer and what it really means for transfers with the Gahey transfer and stuff like that. I'm going to try to make Monday night football shows on a Tuesday, because that's what it is today, a little bit more sort of news orientated. I don't want to do drama. This channel is mainly an education channel to sort of help people teach and understand football, so you can basically see or understand when people use keywords like double pivot, they don't know anything about football. It's not a thing. So when you understand all of the things that's going on, then you can actually see who's talking sense and who's talking nonsense. So that's what we're here for. We're going to go for, I don't know, probably about 45 minutes to an hour. But as I start to ramble, you're going to start to understand that I might go a little bit longer. Now, a lot of this shape, system and formations, when I used to do coaching courses live in person and stuff, I actually really wanted to do that before, a certain date of a virus that we all know about. And that whole sort of business model got chunked out the window and I couldn't really do any of that. So that's why I really started the YouTube channel, so I could start putting things forward on here, so people could just use it and watch it as and when they wanted. But so when we're just talking about, let's just see if this works, so I can show you, starting off with shape, systems and formations, because it's pretty important. It's one of those things, they're talking about Ruben Amorim, shape, system and formation, and quite frankly, 9 times out of 10 they're completely wrong about everything they're talking about. So what is a shape, what is a system, and what's a formation? Right, so if you're thinking about a formation, we'll start off simple with a 4-4-2. Let's see, can I draw on here? Yes. Right, so we've got a 4-4-2. Back four. That's what you'd like to know is a 4-4-2. Okay? That's a formation, 4-4-2. Brilliant. We all understand that. But let's make it a little bit different for you. So this is a 4-4-2. And we'll have a player there, and one up there, and we'll have there. And this diamond formation was made famous by a certain team with overlapping runners here called AC Milan. That's how they used to play. And Kaká and Shevchenko used to play, like Kaká would be up here, Shevchenko would be back here, with Crespo up here. But it was still a 4-4-2. But as you can see, the formation would be a 4-4-2, but the shape wouldn't be. And that's just a simple way of making people understand the difference between shape and formation. Nowadays, they'd say, oh, that's a 4-1-3-2. No, it's not. It's a 4-4-2. That's what it is. You're trying to make yourself more clever than you actually are. And that's one of the things that people overlook when they're doing football coaching, or anything in these roles of management. Your whole job is to make everything as simple as possible and get it to people so they can understand it. Now, let me break that down one more time. Your job as a coach or a manager is to make it as simple as possible so they can understand it. It doesn't mean that they can articulate it back to you. It doesn't mean that they can, actually, to be truth, it's not even if they understand it. There's only one fundamental rule between all of it. They don't need to be able to speak it back to you. They don't even really be able to understand it. The only thing they need to be able to do is do it. Execute it on the field. That is all your job is. Execution. Getting them to execute what you see here. Why? Let's talk about Ruben Amorim a little bit. He's going to be sort of intertwined in this topic of shape, systems, and formations as we go on. As he spends all his time in press conferences talking about his system and all this. Who cares? Show us. Don't care what you say. Show us. That's the only thing you need to do in football. You don't need to talk. You don't need to do anything else. You just need to show people. Because no matter what you say as a coach, if your players aren't doing it, they're not understanding it. And if you're spending all your time trying to convince your players about your system, they're not understanding it. You've just got to get them to do it. And that's the main thing in football that people overlook all the time, and they just really don't get. If people aren't doing it, they're not understanding it, And if people aren't understanding it, you're not doing your job correctly. That is massive. It's the whole point of a football coach. It's the whole point of a football manager, is to get people to understand. And as soon as you've done that, you know you're doing a good job. So if we're talking about Ruben Amorim's system or shape or formation, oh, by the way, there's way more complex levels to this as we go through. Sup, buddy? How are you doing? Oh, yeah. Also, I'm tired. I don't know. I'm exhausted over the last couple of days. You can probably see these little bags under my eyes. I'm just so tired. I barely sleep anyway. I'm not one of those people that could sleep like 10 hours a day. I'm just 8 hours or 4 hours if I'm lucky. But so when we're talking about shapes, systems, and formations, and by the way, I'm going to start intertwining all of these. Without your formation, you can't have your shape. Without your shape, you can't put your system in place. Your system is sort of almost like it can be your style of play, if you like. So some of these words are interchangeable. And that's one of the main things with football coaching, is you don't really want to be telling all your players all of this nonsense, because all you're doing is confusing them. So the easy way you'd coach your players is do this, right? So we're playing with our back three. Okay. But then we've got a right back and a left back. Oh, okay. And we've got two centre midfielders. Really? Oh, so you're playing a 3-4-3. Is that what you're doing? Yeah. We don't have 5 at the back. And the reason why it's important, because you want to think of your formation as when the ball's getting kicked off from the centre line. Okay, there it is. Boom, the centre line. Here's your 18-yard box down here. However your team is set up at that moment, that is your formation. So what does that mean? Right. Think of it as dead ball situations. So when the ball's out of play and dead ball situations, your formation is pretty much, this is what it is. Your shape, however, would be the dynamic fluidity between when the balls get, anytime there's a transition, defensive to attacking transition, attacking to defensive transition, any of those, it's how all of these components move and interact. Okay. The more complicated this is, the less chance there is of people keeping their shape. If they can't keep their shape, they don't understand the formation or the system of play, and everything starts falling apart. And that's one of the main problems with Manchester United. Because if I drew that and said, okay, there's 5 at the back, Man United, yeah, but that's not how they want to play. They want to play with 3 at the back, 2 kind of up, into the midfield, 1 sitting here, and 2 over here. Well, it gets all kind of messy because they don't really get the system. But if you said, we're playing 3-4-3, oh, okay, get that. The left and right backs are kind of wing backs, but you start in a higher position. I don't want you on the same line as the defenders. However, when we're defending, the ball's coming down this side. This guy tucks in and makes a 4, and he pressures the ball. However, if it's coming down this side, this guy tucks in, he makes a 4, and this guy pressures the ball. Oh, okay, simple. They'd understand it. They'd be able to progress forward, win the ball back, and transition easily. It's so much more simple. But let me show you another example of a difference of shape and formation. So one of the standard formations that everyone plays, because generally they can't coach, is the 4-3-3. That's one of the most standard formations that's played through everywhere, because ultimately coaches can't coach football. So if you're looking at the 4-3-3, let's just draw that again with a different shape. There's the 4, there's the 3, and there's the other 3. Can we see that line like that? Now let's draw that same thing, almost identical formation, another way. There's the 4, here's the 3, and there we go. And you can see now the pyramid in the middle is inverted, and you've got 2 defensive midfielders. They are not double pivots. You can't stick 2 nails in a board and try to pivot the board. This formation, same as the rest defense. Maybe if you see, here's the other thing: is terminology in football. Coaches try to make things overcomplicated by changing terminology, changing buzzwords, to confuse everybody, to make them sound more important than they actually are. Resting defense, you might call that is every time the ball is out of play, your defense gets to set. Okay, starting positions is generally what it's known in is the coaching world, right? What's the starting positions of the team? So when the dead ball situation is here, this is our team starting position. When it's over here, this is our starting position. That's your formation. Okay, how are we defending the ball from here? That's our starting that's our set formation. The shape is way more fluid and dynamic as the team has actually got the ball, are trying to defend the ball in an actual gameplay setting as the game is moving, not when it's a dead ball situation. Now, also, you've got to understand inside of that, everyone's got different roles and responsibilities. Now, one of the huge things that you hear in football is this nonsense of like, oh, we've bought a number 8. We've got 2 number 10s up front. Yeah, really? Utter nonsense. If you hear YouTube channels or you hear some, sports pundits talking about number 8s or number 10s or number 4s, turn them off. They're idiots. Let me give you a simple analogy. If you got 100 fans and you ask them, every single one of them, what is the role and responsibility of a number 10? What do you want from your number 10? You'd get 100 different answers. If you went to 100 football players that play in the number 10 and you said, what are your roles and responsibilities? You'd get an extra 100 different answers and none of them would match. None of them. So when people start saying, oh, we need a number 4 or we need what do you mean? Because your definition of a number 4 is going to be different than my definition of a number 4. It's going to be different from his definition of a number 4. So what are you talking about? I want a player that's got responsibilities that does X, Y, and Z. Okay, great. I can understand that. But when you start using, saying, oh, yeah, but he plays like this. Yeah, he plays like this player. He doesn't play out. He's not the same as that player. No players are the same. And the more people, talk and try to make things more complicated to sound smart, they sound more and more stupid. Have you just started? Yeah, pretty much, mate. Been on for a couple of minutes. I'm going over shape systems and formations. I'm probably going to go over it again in a minute, because it gets more and more complex. Normally, when I do this, I would normally do it in probably about a 4-hour segment in a coaching course. Because what normally happens is when you give out sort of a simple idea as the 4-2-2 or the 4-4-2 or something, everyone's got a million questions, and then you start you expand from there. And normally I'd have had actual slides, and I wouldn't be drawing on a screen like this trying to figure out how to work it on OBS, But yeah, so let's just talk about the simple way of why people play a 4-3. Oh, can I do it? No, I can't do it there. I need a better place to draw. That's what I need. Okay, so if we've got our 4, can I do X's? Oh, look at that. 3-3. The reason why people coach the 4-3-3, and Ruben Amorim again also let the cat out of the bag in one of the press conferences. He said he can't coach another system. Wouldn't surprise me, because not many coaches can, because they don't know any better. They can't go, right, these are the players I've got. This is the system that works with these players. That's what I'm going to coach. The reason why they stick to what they're doing is because they actually don't know anything else. And you might go, oh, well, that's a bit harsh, Cash. No, it's the God's honest truth. I know these people. I've worked with them all over the world. They're morons. And it's not just that they're morons. It's that they don't have enough experience coaching in a certain system in a certain way. No, I don't know how I'm using it. Don't ask me how I'm doing this. Yeah. So when you're actually trying to do a 4-4-2, for instance, and you're trying to coach it, to understand it, you have to be able to coach that for about 3 years with the same team to understand what you're doing right and wrong, and what the team and the players are doing right and wrong, so you can get it right. Not many coaches stay at a club for 3 or 4 years. They're already fired. So they don't have the experience to go through and go, right, this is what's right and this is what's wrong when I'm doing my system and I'm coaching it. And that comes down to a failure of multiple things. So they can't go, right, I've tried the 4-4-2. Now I'm going to the 4-3-3. Now I'm doing a different 4-3-3 with a different shape. I'm changing some things, because they don't get the time. And what a coach will do, instead of actually admitting that his system is wrong, his formation is wrong, and his shape is wrong, he'll say, oh, the players were wrong. I didn't have the right players at my club. Nah, it was nothing to do with me. And they'll go on to the next one. What's up, Joey? How you doing, mate? what they'll do is they'll blame all the players, and the coach will never actually look at himself and go, oh, that's not right. So let's just go back to the number 10 discussion again. If you think you know what a number 10 is, or a number 8, or even a number 9 striker, it's probably the most defined role, you're going to be wrong, because everyone has a different opinion of what his roles and responsibilities are, what his roles and responsibilities are. What is Steven Gerrard a number 8? Is Frank Lampard a number 8? They're completely different players. Good, buddy, good. Check my messages out on Patreon. There's a few more flying your way. There's this arrogant sort of level of, oh, this is how simple football is, and everyone needs to be put into these boxes when every single football player is different. So let me give you a better example. Instead of thinking as your number 10 as a number, think of him as a shape. So he's a square, okay? But we've got another square next to him. We can't have two squares next to each other. I need a circle and I need a triangle. So this one here, he might do A and he might do C, but he doesn't do B. B he doesn't do. This guy does B, right? So he does B. So with all of this, then we have balance up front, because I need A, B, and C between these two players up front, and that's how I get my goals. He might be a creator and a goal scorer. He might be the pace and power. Whatever you want to label these as, or put these attributes down to, then you can start building an idea of what you want up front. But you're not going to get it all in one player. You just never will. And if you do, someone's going to buy him and they're going to go somewhere else anyway. So when you're trying to understand and identify building a team with a formation and a shape, you need to think of all these dynamic things. So let's just go back to formation again. So our starting lineup would be our formation. We're going to play with what's called an inverted pyramid. There we go. We've got an inverted pyramid. 2's at the top and 1's at the base. Okay. But these two here, every time they receive the ball, they're going to knock it back here, and we're going to play it out wide. We're going to play it out wide here, and away we go. That's what we're trying to do. So these guys hold the line. We push back up here. Right. We're not coaching these three. We're ignoring these three for the time being. They aren't any part of our shape or system until we get into the other team's half. All right. Now you're starting to build yourself a building block of a system with a shape and a formation. Right. So the formation, let's just recap it slowly for you, would be the 4-3-3. The shape would be, actually, let's just do that a little bit differently so you can understand a little bit more. There's our little centre midfielder. There's the 2. There'd be the ways there. That would be our shape. When we've got the ball, these two step forward. Our formation changes now into our shape because we've got possession, and now we can move the ball forward. Oh, and a W. There's a whole coaching philosophy over M's and W's. Guess when that started? In the 1970s. Yeah, heaven forbids. I mean, this is what I mean. People just really don't know anything about football. All of this has all been done before, decades ago. They just don't read. They just don't study. They just assume they know it. Another way of getting that M and W would be playing a 4-4-2, and you've got your M's and your W's everywhere. Oh, that's a bad one. And you've got them all over the place to give yourself options. But again, that would be your formation. The difference in shape would be when you advance forward, your 4-4-2 would look like this, with a diamond in midfield. Wasn't the VMW formation created by an Arsenal manager? No, it's something to do with no. That was the Italians were doing this years and years ago, in the late 70s, early 80s. A lot of the formations and strategic movements and stuff like this was done by the Italians. It really was. So if you want a layman's way of thinking about it, formation is when the ball's out of play or you're starting a game. Your shape is when the ball's in play and you're trying to either win it back or you've got possession. Okay? Because that's your formation then is turned into a shape, squeezing an area. And that shape needs to be able to be fluid and dynamic at the same time. So then what does that mean? Goes on to the next stage. roles and responsibilities. Whose role and responsibility is to pressure the ball? Okay, so inside of that, just think you've got your 3 forwards. You kind of ignore. They're the last piece of the puzzle. When you start putting those, they've not fallen off. That's a miss thing with the Italians. What's happened in the world of football is all the money is coming to the Premier League, and they've just stolen all the best players. In the 80s, the Italian league, in the early 90s, the Italian league had all the money, and they were the best in the world. So it all comes down to one thing: who's got all the money. It's nothing to do with anything else in football. It's just who's got all the money. If you look at how much money Real Madrid and Barcelona, I think Barcelona, ridiculous amount of money and debt. That's all it comes down to. You know, who's got the money? They have the best league. Everything else goes out the window. I'll talk about that in a little bit later on as well. It's not one of the topics for discussion tonight, but I will bring it up. Because I can't remember last time I watched it. I think I watched one good game of football last year, and I think it was PSG. Maybe it might have been PSG Liverpool was a good game of football. Was it maybe PSG in? No, I don't think it was even PSG Inter Milan. It might have been PSG by Barcelona as well. There isn't many good games of football anymore. When I sit and go, oh, that's a good game of football. All you see now is just, I've got a shape, you've got a shape. We're sitting back, we're going for there's no football. It's just system against system. And because they're not executing their systems correctly, and there's no freedom of movement from the players, there's no good football. It just isn't. So let's go back, start from the beginning. We know what our formation is. It's a 4-4-2. It's a 4-4-2. But remember, we've got a diamond midfield because we're AC Milan. So that's our 4-4-2. In possession, though, our left and right backs come forward. So our shape changes. Almost looks like we've got 6 in midfield and 2 up front. And it stops you being able to pass through us. And maybe one goes forward and one goes back. So think about roles and responsibilities. Here's our 2 central defenders. You'd have maybe Franco Baresi and Maldini back here. Actually, Maldini would be over here at the time. One responsibility is to win all the headers. The other one's responsibility is to cover. So wherever the ball is, the first point of contact would be player A's, and the second point of contact would be player B. So A's trying to win the ball, B's trying to cover in case he doesn't make it. So inside of that, after you've got your little formation and you're trying to use your shape, then your shape is going to play to the attributes of your players. So, for instance, if you're Ruben Amorim and you've got your 3 at the back, and you've got a left back and a right back that can't defend, they can go forward. Unfortunately, he's changed Dallow's performance, so he doesn't actually do anything to his strengths. He's only playing to his weaknesses. His weakness is defending, and now he has to play to that weakness. That's what you call a bad manager. Bruno Fernandes would be sitting in here with Casemiro. Casemiro, strength is standing around winning the ball. Brilliant. We'll give him a tick. Bruno Fernandes doesn't have any strengths in midfield. He's not a midfield player. He wants to be up here, creative on the ball. His strengths are passing and distributing the ball, not running around chasing the ball. So all of a sudden, you've given one of your midfielders a job he can't do, another player over here a job he can't do, because you're playing players in systems and shapes that they don't fit. Again, how would you do that? If you're really doing it properly, you'd probably start making squares and triangles and going, right, I need 2 squares in centre midfield. They're people that run around, maybe like a Kobe Mainoo, run around and win the ball. And then someone with some experience next to him that can help each other out. And you can start to build a balance. Otherwise, it doesn't matter what formation you've got or what system you've got. If those players do not fit it, it doesn't matter. Formations, shapes, and systems do not win football games and never have done. The only thing that does is players. And if you've got the players in the wrong places, or doing the wrong jobs, or doing the wrong roles and responsibilities, or you've done what Ruben Amorim's done, talk so much you've confused the hell out of the players, they don't know whether they're coming or going anymore, you're absolutely done for. Now that goes on to another part where when you're coaching players and you're trying to make players better, you'll hear these analogies like, oh, he's got no right foot. I want him to work on his right foot more. No, no, you don't. I'm telling you now, no, you don't. All you want him to do is play football. A classic example would be Ryan Giggs. Okay, Ryan Giggs has a left foot, doesn't have a right foot. You don't want him practicing on his right foot. What you want him doing is becoming better on his left foot that he's already world class on. And that makes him a better football player. You focus on your strengths and make them better, not on your weaknesses and make them worse. Sorry, we'll try to make those better because they're weaknesses for a reason. If you're great at dribbling the ball, be the best in the world at dribbling the ball. Don't go, oh, now he needs to learn to win the football. Well, no. Dallow's really good at getting down the wing and crossing the ball. He doesn't need to get good at defending back here. Stop. Change what you're doing because it doesn't help. Oh, but he needs to be able to play all roles. We live in the real world. And we'd love all players to be able to play and do all multiple different roles and responsibilities, but it's just not possible. So you have players doing what they're good at. You let them thrive at what they're good at, and you give them all the tools and the things they can to push forward and be really, really good. Otherwise, you just negate all of their strengths and they become a bad football player. And one of the things in football is very, very much about confidence. And if you start chipping away at their confidence because they can't do the thing that they're good at, all of a sudden, you don't know what sort of player they are anymore. Sorry, I'm rambling on and on and on. Yeah, normally I break down shapes and systems and formations a little bit better because I'd have a bit of a more of a graphics program. I can start drawing it out for you. But that's kind of the rule of thumb. So when you start hearing people talking about Ruben Amorim's formation or shape, you're really talking about his system because you're not talking about his shape or his formation. You're actually talking about his system of play, of how he's trying to win the ball back, the players he's trying to use to win the ball back, and how they're trying to play the ball when they do win the ball back. And quite frankly, oh, no worries, buddy. Good to have you here. I do like it when people write stuff in the chat because I'll answer any of your questions. That's another thing as well. If you do want me to cover some topics, feel free just to put them in the Patreon and I will cover them. The reason I say the Patreon is because I get so, I try to answer all the comments on YouTube, as you well know, but some just slip through. And the way that the YouTube works, I just can't find them sometimes. So if you do want me to cover some topics, stick it in the old Patreon. I know there's a free tier that can't comment at the moment. I'm trying to make sure that can, because I'm trying to make sure everyone can talk in there. There's something to do with some weird setting. I've tried changing it twice and it's not worked. Oh, wait, what? He's been good at 5 things, especially when the goalkeeper has put him in some of their previous balls games. Yeah. I get what you're saying with the goalkeeper's there. The problem is having goalkeepers playing with their feet all goes back to a bigger problem with football, which I've been harping on for about 20 years now, because people can't coach. And I'm going to tell you again, slowly, people can't coach football. So it goes all the way down to the academy level. And the main reason you don't have this little box that wins you a game of football is because they can't coach it. I'm going to show you why quickly. Because this is like a 4 or 5 day coaching course for me getting to this. But this is a simple way of looking at it. If I do that, you can see there's the back 4, there's the 2 centre midfielders, and there's the 2 centre backs. You told me a partnership or a system or a team in the world that plays like that. 2 solid centre backs with 2 solid centre midfielders in front of them. There isn't. They almost all do this. We've got pick the name of the player, Moise Caicedo, a defensive midfielder, someone screening the back 4. And by the way, they don't screen the back 4. They only screen the back 2 defenders. They absolutely no way screen the back 4. Okay. And this comes from the academy. This comes from the under 6s all the way up to the under 19s. That's what they coach because they cannot coach. They cannot coach that. It's too much. Is Ten Hag a bad coach? Oh, he's terrible. Yeah, he's terrible. The modern coaches, okay. So I don't know if you've had this in the real world. They're all good at talking the talk, but they can't actually walk the walk. They can't do anything. They'll get the job. They'll sound really good. They'll go, oh, this guy's brilliant. He's done, this qualification or that. Yeah, but can he do the thing? Nah, he can't actually do the thing. Oh, right. But if you look at when Ten Hag was good, he was at Ajax. The whole club has a system and structure that he doesn't really have to do anything. It just takes care of itself. That's why he's good. It doesn't mean he doesn't have some managerial skills, and it doesn't mean that he can't get some players playing for him, which can take that system that they use at Ajax to the next sort of level. Remember, the system at Ajax is what they used at Barcelona. Barcelona is what they use at Man City. And it's pretty much the structure that they use through all of the academies in pretty much all the clubs in the world. Now, when Ajax did it, and it was called Total Football back in the day, and it's playing this 4-3-3 system and this dynamic third man on the run. I've actually done a warm-up course on it. There's a warm-up video I've done on it. But that comes from Corvair coaching, not from Total Football coaching. Corvair coaching is a very similar system and a strategy, and guess what? It was found out that doesn't work in the real world. It's good to teach players technical abilities, but it's not good to actually fight and try to win and do things with, because unless they come from the system, you can't add a player into the system that hasn't played from that system, because it just doesn't work. The whole thing breaks down and crashes around his ears because you've got one person not doing the job and nobody else can figure out why, and all of a sudden everything just crashes down. Arteta's tactics. Oh my God, I so want to talk about that. Oh, I'm going to get onto that Liverpool. It's the first time I got to watch a game like properly. I fell asleep. In that game. I missed Szoboszlai's game goal. I'm going to get onto that. Don't you worry. Arteta doesn't have any tactics. That's the long and short of it. So the reason why no one coaches, because you can't just say, oh, they don't coach this, they can't coach this. You've got to tell people the reason why. Because otherwise you're just like all these other YouTubers that just claim things and doesn't know anything. Right, so here's the reason why. In the academies, they play 6v6. That's what they do. And they're completely and utterly wrong, by the way. If you watch one of my other videos when I explain the problem with small-sided games and everything they say about it's completely and utterly wrong on every level, from a scientific level, from a player level, from a first touch level, from a development player level. It's all wrong. But what do you see? Two centre-backs with a centre midfielder. Right? Guess what then they do? They do the next level up. What do you see? Two centre-backs with a centre midfielder with players that run wide. Oh, and these players can either be chopped back as a left back or a right back, or they play as generic wide player. And that's every academy across the world, because they play small-sided games. So when you're looking at a 4-4-2 system, and here's the problem. I had an argument with some more in the comment section because they claimed that the centre midfielder doesn't cover for the left and right back. Yeah, they do. They're supposed to. The thing is as this player moves and goes over here, he's supposed to slide across and cover for him. Because the ball would be over here, and then they squeeze this side of the field. They can't coach it because the players don't know it, because they've grown up since the age of 10 playing the other way. With everyone playing with one midfielder as the defensive midfielder, he doesn't move forward. He screens the left and right centre-back and then distributes out wide, and they go out wide. If they're in trouble, they come back and they rotate it and it goes round again. That's all they do. So they don't actually teach having, which would be, two centre-backs, two centre midfielders, and this really unique concept of two strikers. That, the spine of a team, doesn't exist anymore. And if any manager, coach or owner starts running his football club and he does it for 10 years and he just does this and he coaches, because here's the other problem you don't have anymore. Tell me a great striker partnership duo in the world. There was loads. There was always two striker partnership. You know, Sturridge and Suarez. There was Alan Shearer and Sutton. There was, you know, there's always Drogba and Anelka. There was loads and loads and loads of, you know, partnerships up front. Not anymore. How many teams are looking for a number? We're going to call it a number 9. You know, an actual out-and-out goal scorer. Oh yeah, 100%. And Lukaku, yeah, there's loads. There isn't anymore because they don't coach it. So you have the one guy up front, and so the centre midfield partnership is one of the most important partnerships in football. Tell me a great centre midfield partnership that's going on now. There isn't. No, they're not good. Well, they're starting to be, but they're not good. They're not world class. They're not going to win you a Champions League. You know, there isn't any. And there should be you should be able to list off at least 20. At least 20. Doesn't happen anymore. And this is the main problem. Because at the youth level, they're not taught centre-back partnerships, centre midfield partnerships, and goal-scoring partnerships. They can't do it in the first team. Because guess what you have to do on the weekend? You have to win games of football. And they don't have time. There's no time to do any of that. So they have to keep sort of playing these systems and these formations that they've been playing in the youth academies because that's the only thing the players can play. It's the only things that they can do. Was this Neves and Mourinho when they were at Wolves? Yeah. See, some of the lower teams do it because they've got no choice. Because they have to have a solid midfield with and put less players up front. But even then, that's not a great partnership. That's not something that went on for 3 to 5 years and you could go, oh yeah, they're a handful, they're a problem. And in football, it takes it takes about, right, so when you're a coach, it takes a minimum of 3 years. 3 years as a coach to make your team. All right, that's the minimum. Yeah, Gravenberch and McAllister, but they've got Slobosai with them. There's 3 there. There's not 2. So you can't say, oh yeah, Gravenberch and McAllister. By the way, who I like Alexi McAllister. I think he's a quality player. But you've got 3 midfielders in there. It's not 2. So all of a sudden, that whole dynamic is changing, and that's the problem. There's always another midfielder who's slightly further ahead of them, who's providing the pressure on the ball. So let me give an example. We'll just use those 3, as you just said, from Liverpool, right? So here's the problem. We'll say that's Gravenberch. That's Alexi McAllister, okay? So what's this? What you said about Marcelo Bielsa, I missed is different. yeah. So Slobosai is providing the pressure on the ball. The reason why Gravenberch can intercept passes is because the pressure is already here. They've already made a decision to bypass this pressuring player, and then these players get to actually do the job. But that shouldn't be the case. Gravenberch should be providing the pressure. Alexi McAllister should be providing the balance to do it himself and cover all of that ground. They don't do that. Now, there are some other fundamental reasons there as well. It's because you don't have the wide players. So what you never get a team doing anymore, really. So that's the back 4. Say that would be Alexi McAllister and Gravenberch there. Mo Salah would be there. And I think Luis Diaz would be there. And that would be the difference. So they'd have a tightly packed midfield. But Liverpool don't do that. Mo Salah's up there. And Luis Diaz is up there. Okay? So it provides them with more attacking options because you've got that extra midfielder in there. Do you see? So you're able to put these wingers further forward. The other reason they coach the 4-3-3, let me show you this little nugget. Right, so if we do this, because it's easier to coach a 4-3-3 than a 4-4-2. So if I've got my 4-3-3 system, which is the X's, in midfield, I'm going to have 1 there, I'm going to have 2 there, and I'm going to have these guys up front. If you draw it into these little sections like this, you'll notice something very quickly. I've got 1, 2, 3 players on the flank against 2. I've got 1, 2, 3 players on the flank against 2. In midfield, against these 2 defenders here, I've got 1, 2, 3 against 2. Against their 2 midfielders, I've got 1, 2, 3 against 2. I've always got the number advantage. Always. We don't see direct wingers because the systems, they're not coached. There aren't any players that can do that. Lamine Yamal, Nico Williams, wingers. Name me some more. Vinicius Jr. maybe. There isn't any. There absolutely isn't any. So the reason with the 4-3-3 is you've always got more numbers on the left and the right, out wide and in the middle. So your players don't have to move and be dynamic. You know, we're talking about the difference between formation and shape. Well, you don't have to coach shape as long as they've got the formation right, because they're already in the right place. The thing with a dynamic shape is your team moves and covers those areas. Well, in the 4-3-3, no one needs to move. They're just already there. That's not hard. Okay, we don't have to be dynamic. There is no movement. We just stand there. But remember, with no movement, there's no off the ball running, there's no dynamic passing, there's no creating chances. It's all stagnant. And when it's all sort of stagnant, it's easy and predictable to play. Oh, let's talk about that. Let's transition that onto Arsenal and Liverpool on the weekend, which is a classic example of 2 stagnant teams. Arteta, there was only one thing, if you watch my review of it, he was only trying to isolate that new little kiddie for Liverpool. Other than that, there was nothing that Arsenal were trying to do, except for kick Liverpool players. Every time Liverpool played the ball forward to a striker or anybody, Arsenal fouled them. All the time. Just came out and whacked them. Personally, I don't care. It's a game of football. Do it. If that's the style you're playing. But to me, that's not an Arsenal style of football. That's a Stoke style of football. Waiting for a set piece from a corner, trying to score a header. That's a Tony Pulis at Stoke type football. That's not dynamic football. That's not trying to carve a team open. That's not going to win you a Champions League. Kick players over, give them a free kick, get back and defend, win it, try and get a set piece and get a goal. That's Arteta's strategy at the moment. I mean, it's pretty weak. It's pretty poor. And I can remember, even when Mesut Ozil was playing at Arsenal, and as bad as Arsenal were, you couldn't get the bloody ball off them. They might not score on you, but I'm telling you, you weren't going to get the ball off them. That ball was pinged around better than Pep Guardiola's bloody Man City lot. Where Pep Guardiola went backwards and sideways, that Arsenal team would penetrate you, get the ball, would pull you all over the place. I think Poch agreed that they wouldn't score on each other after the first. I'm not going to say no, that doesn't happen in football. That does happen in football. But I don't think that was the case in that game. I think both teams were wound up to the point where no one took any chances or overstepped anything to lose possession in certain areas. So they didn't try to push a little bit too hard for the win or for the loss. It's one of those games that you don't want that early in the season because no one wants to give an inch. And a wonder goal separated them. I couldn't say either team played well. I mean, it was just awful to watch. It was just so stop and start. Like if you want to go watch, like I do watch like a lot of Italian football, Bundesliga football, and Barcelona, Real Madrid. It's better games. It's just better. It's better football. It's more entertaining. In the Premier League, the only thing that wants to take centre stage is the referee. And the referee ruins the Premier League flow. I was listening to Mark Goldbridge, actually, and I'd say he's probably right 65% of the time, and he's wrong 45% of the time of what he talks about. But every now and again, he comes up with a good analogy. And he said something that I can remember people saying ages ago, and he just put it in a better term. I think Arsenal deserve to lose to... completely cowardice tactics. I think Arsenal had the better team than Liverpool. I would have gone right at Liverpool. I mean, they've got a better midfield. I would have absolutely gone for them. Oh, and if you didn't know, Saliba, who got injured in the first couple of minutes, he was injured in the warm-up. Arteta is such a bad coach, He risked his centre-back, knowing he was injured in the warm-up, put him into the lineup, and he had to sub him off within 4 minutes. That's a bad manager. I mean, would you do that? Oh, I'm injured, Gaff. I can't play. Oh, you're going to play. I'll bring you off in 4 minutes after you've torn it. I know it's just a strain right now, but if I can make you run on it, maybe you can tear the muscle instead of it just being a strain, and you can be out for 6 weeks. It's craziness. What was I going on about? What was I going on about? Oh, can't remember. Something to do with the Liverpool-Arsenal game. The main difference, though, is like I think a lot of the managers nowadays are sort of cowardice. They're so worried about losing their jobs, which I don't blame them. They don't play football. They don't try to teach them. Oh, the other thing I was talking about was actually enjoying football and watching the dynamic play of football. I know what I was talking about. Goldbridge and the referee and the stuff. Yeah. It was a really good analogy. And a ref told it to me once. I don't know what it was when I was playing. Refs used to help me out all the time. I had one ref. He's dead now. Because I'm old as anything. And I was offside. I was always offside. And I was so fast, I never needed to be. And he was like, get back on side. And then the ball would go. Then he'd blow me off, trying to teach me to stay on side. The refs are there to conduct the game. They're like an orchestra conductor. If the game isn't flowing correctly, it's because the ref isn't doing his job. He's not there to make calls. He's not there to send people off. He's not there to give fouls. He's there to keep the game flowing and let the game flow and actually conduct the game. And none of them do that in England. They're all so arrogant and egotistical. They think it's about them and they do not conduct the game. And that's why even sometimes when there's good challenges and bad challenges, you just want the game to go and flow and go backwards and forwards and let the ref conduct it. And when it's a bad challenge, maybe book someone, but not make it about them, not start it that they do in the Premier League. Every minute and a half, the game in the Premier League is stopped. It won't flow. Stop, free kick, stop, free kick, stop, free kick. And that's why there's so much regiment on getting your formations right on set pieces, because they're all set pieces. Oh, Saka and Martinelli have fallen off 100%. Arteta's not going to make any players better. He's just not. And the reason why they keep getting injured is because he keeps trying to play them. And because he doesn't have a replacement for Saka. That's what Madueke was for. So when Saka was injured, and before he was even ready to really play, he'd throw him straight back in the first team and he'd be injured in 4 weeks again. That's the problem with Arteta. He doesn't know what he's really doing. And he's doing that because he's panicking to try to win a league or win a cup, where if he just backed down a little bit, his players would be better. He'd have less injuries. They'd be able to get into a rhythm and he'd be able to achieve something. But he doesn't understand that. He doesn't understand the fact that he's playing Wolves. Saka, you're on the bench. I'm bringing you on at 60 minutes, and then you're going to go on and you're going to try to score me a goal. Oh, yeah. Well, Mike Dean was definitely matched. Oh, if you actually... The problem, you can't really find it on Google. You want to use like a real search engine. Go look up match fixing. You'll be shocked. So is Joey still there? Joey, are you in the chat? Let me know. I'm going to talk some NFL. But there's so much match fixing that goes on in sports. Ask yourself why the bookies always win. So I want to talk a little bit about American sports and matchmaking and that sort of stuff. There's a book, it's either called Interception or Interference. It was done in the 1980s, 1982, 1986, in that sort of range. The guy was on all the talk shows in America at the time. Yeah, okay, buddy, I'm talking NFL match fixing. Wait until I tell you. Do you know about baseball? Because I'm going to drop you a name in the chat. When I message you later, I'm going to shock you who Cash. Yeah, because I've got a billion stories. There's lots of things I won't say on YouTube. I won't say live, but yeah. Because if you know, you know. Like if you've been on the East Coast of America, you'll know who I am. When I tell you, you'll go, "Oh, I know you. I've heard about you." So this guy started looking into sports betting, and he was looking at the NFL and looking at why the bookies were always winning on the point spreads. So then he found out that there was always 2 or 3 players on each team that was in the pockets of the bookies to throw the games. This is in the 70s and the 80s, mind you, in the NFL. And remember, everything else, it's just got worse. It's got more sophisticated, harder to track, easier to cover up, and better lied about. Everything. Okay? Absolutely everything. Oh, okay. So I'm gonna talk to you about the Atlanta Braves later on, and I got some. Yeah, you're gonna laugh. You're gonna laugh, right? So when he figured that out, and he figured out if all of these players are getting bought and paid off for, because there's always a player. I don't know if you know this as well. In the NFL, in the first 3 years, 40% of all NFL players are bankrupt. That statistic is going up a little bit more. Oh, book suggested. I haven't heard of that. I might know the story though. I'll have to have a little read of that. So if you've got all these players that are going bankrupt within the first couple of years of being an NFL star, they're easy to control and corrupt the bookies. Met fan. Oh yeah, wait until you hear about my Brave story, mate. You'll laugh. You're gonna laugh. You're gonna laugh. I'm not going to name drop here in the chat, but I know everybody. Or sorry, correction. Everybody knows me. Everybody knows me. So if you're aware that all of that can happen in the NFL and all the match fixing that's gone in the NFL in the 80s, you know it happens in football. You had the whole scandal with them tying up referees in Italy and putting their own referees in games. And okay. And then it's still happening to this day. Like, who was that guy, David Coates, who's openly saying he hated Liverpool? Well, we're not saying you were match fixing for Liverpool, but you're going to help anyone that hurts Liverpool, so they can help Arsenal win or Man City win or anybody else win. So to give Liverpool a hard, like, you can't have any of that bias. You're supposed to be a professional. Okay, that's why you don't know what team I support. You don't know what teams I don't like. You'll never know because you're supposed to be professional. Your opinion cannot be ranked if people think you've got a biased over here or a biased over there. I can't take you seriously. And that's the problem in England. No one takes any of these referees seriously. They all think they're biased. Who's that guy, the Man City referee? Should have sent off Kovacic not once but twice. Didn't do the Alexi McAllister penalty when Doku studded him in the chest. Gave Man City a goal that wasn't a goal at Fulham when they were offside. Like, that's one ref. That's 5 decisions that would have cost Man City not only red cards, games, points, and a league, because Arsenal should have won in that league. That year. That's one time. Yeah, fair and impartial. Yeah, 100%. Oh, was he? It wouldn't surprise me if he's the. See, here's the problem. Like, that was a red card all day against Virgil van Dijk and Pickford, all day long. But now we just don't believe in them anymore. That's it. And I heard he's coming back to ref as well. They're bringing him back to referee, because there's one thing with corruption, they cover up and look after the people that are corrupt. The honest people get kicked out. I'm telling you that now. If you're honest and you've got integrity, you will get kicked out because they know they can't buy you. If you can't be bought, well, don't want you round here. There's certain people. I'll tell you one you're not going to like, but he's honest. He might not have much integrity. He does actually. He does. He's just a loudmouth. It's Jose Mourinho. Jose Mourinho's honest. He'll tell you as it is. The match fixing in Turkey is crazy. Yeah, Mourinho called it out. Yeah, Jose Mourinho called it out. Oh, look, he got fired. What a shock. So it is madness in football that people think that this isn't a thing. Who was that bloody player that Newcastle bought a couple of years back? He was doing bet scandals for getting yellow cards in minutes of the game in Italy. He'd go and get himself a yellow card to fix it, wouldn't he? And they bought him and he got sanctioned for 2 years or something. Oh, so yeah, that's my other crazy thing. Oh, we admitted to being gay in an interview. So, when in the world does it matter who you want to have sex with? When has that ever been a thing? Why is that now? I want to have sex with these people, so now all of my corruption is okay. What? Where are all the adults? Like, why? We don't care who you want to have sex with. Nobody in the chat cares who anyone in the chat wants to have sex with tomorrow. So why do anyone care who's gay or not gay? Like, does it matter? Oh yeah, that's the guy. Yeah, 100%. That's the guy. Yeah, yeah. So I'm reading Joey's. Yeah, yeah, 100%, 100%. But oh, can I actually? I'm learning my chat. Sorry, boys. I'm not very brilliant on the old. Yeah, I just messed the chat up doing that. Now I can't see anything. Brilliant, Cash. You're the best. I know. I will get better and better the more of these live streams I do, so I can actually start getting over information better and better. But that's just awful. How do I close it now? I can't close it. I cannot close it. This is brilliant. Isn't Galatasaray backed by the government? Yeah, so was AC Milan. Berlusconi, the president of Italy. That's why they didn't get kicked out of Serie A. They only got a 28 point deduction, and Juventus got kicked out of the league, didn't they? Into Serie B for it. Real Madrid is backed by their government. You've got to think of how much money Real Madrid owe, and what they do is because the government pays for it. Spain's broke as a country, but they'll pay for Real Madrid because it's one of their biggest exports. That goes on all over the place. If you keep the people watching the games, go watch Gladiator. Keep the people entertained with the games. They won't revolt and go after the government. Just keep giving them games to play and watch. Yeah, don't look up, people. Don't look up. But yeah, if you do want any topics, though, feel free to drop me a line because there's bunches of stuff that I want to talk about. And I wanted to get into the shapes and formations a little bit better in the systems because I wanted to get into systems of play and how the shapes and formations dictate your system of play. So, oh, it has a special non-profit status. Yeah. Oh, yeah. It's a special non-profit status that basically means money laundering. Yeah. We can do what we want, not pay taxes and launder money. Football, fair and honest. So, yeah, I might do a little bit of system, move on to systems from shapes and formations next week as well, because your system can't work. Oh, so you can't pass the ball unless you've got a shape. Okay, you can't. So remember, that shape's got to be moving as the game's going, right? So your formation is dead balls. This is kind of where our starting position. And then we dictate our shape, okay? I'd like you to talk about the man. Oh my God, I know so much about player development. Oh yeah, God. Right. I've had so many arguments with coaches all over the world about player development. They do not know. Yeah, it wouldn't surprise me. I wouldn't be surprised if all the Liga clubs go that way because they can just do what they want with their money then. There's so many other things you can do in a non-profit that you can't do in a corp. The number one thing about player development, and people do not understand this, I repeat it over and over and over again to managers and coaches, and they just go, you must keep the player. You cannot develop a player that you do not have. They go, oh yeah, but you don't understand what I'm saying. I'm not just on about him leaving your football club. I'm on about him being at your football club. I'll tell you, Manchester United have had a player for years that they do not have. His name's Marcus Rashford. They had him at the club, but they didn't have him at the club. He had no interest in being there. So you cannot develop a player that you don't have. They have to be on your side, on your everything a part of them. They have to be with you. If they're not with you, you can't develop them. You can't make them better. You have to get rid of them. Get rid of them straight away. Boom, gone. Go. You cannot develop a player that isn't playing regular football, and you cannot develop that player unless you're playing him for at least 3 years. So he's starting to think the same way that you are, and he can see and understand what you're saying. I go back to what I started at the beginning of the stream with. As a coach, your job isn't to have your player understand what he's doing, isn't to have your player repeat back to you what you're coaching him. Your job is to make him do it. That's it. Is he doing the thing? If he's not doing the thing, you ain't coaching. That's it. Is he doing the thing? If he's doing the thing, you're coaching him. If he's not doing the thing, you ain't coaching him. If you think of it that simply, it goes through all walks of life as well. There's lots of other different things that you can use those analogies for, and you can change it to different things as well. Because as well, you'll notice when I start talking, you'll notice there's always going to be another level and another level and another level and another level underneath it. But you can't give them all in one go. So when you start talking about shapes, systems and formations, you just got everyone understanding the basics of, okay, dead ball, we're in our formation, moving ball, we're in our shape, and then we can start building on our system, and then we can start talking more about our formation, another level to that, and another level to the shape, and another level to the system, and it all starts to expand outwards, and your knowledge grows and grows and grows, and that way you can go, oh, right, I kind of get what he's saying, because sometimes coaches will talk in a different language to confuse you, sometimes they're talking in a different language because they know a lot more information. So it's hard to look at your chats because I've ruined it. I've completely ruined it. How do I get rid of this? Can I get rid of that? Close this dockable windows if you like to. I don't know what that means. Okay. Perfect. Got rid of the thing. Now I can see the chat again. Woohoo! Oh, football ultras are 100% needed in football. 100%. Oh yeah. He's completely and utterly installed. Yeah. 100%. Nicolas Arteta talks in the wrong way. He talks like a loser, not a winner. He's already go and listen to his conferences. Tell me when he says his team play badly. You've got to hold your players accountable. You're an adult. Your players are your children. You hold your kids accountable. When they do right, you give them praise. When they do wrong, you bollock them. You don't just let them do what they want. Otherwise, you have a bunch of spoiled brats. You don't blame the referee. You don't blame, because the only people responsible are your players, not the other team. Other team's relevant. They just happen to be on the same field as you. The only thing that matters, the only thing you can change is your team. That's it. Absolutely it. Let's go on to the football ultras, actually, because it's a really good comment. Maybe we'll talk a little bit more about it next week. Go and look at European stadiums, especially German. Go watch the German game live. Borussia Dortmund's a great example. Go and look at that stadium and how chaotic and crazy it is. Now, here's also a professional footballer complaining about, oh yeah. Book of Excuses. That would be a good title. Nicolas Arteta, Book of Excuses. I might use that as the thumbnail. I might use that as the thumbnail. PSG Ultras. Okay, so there's a little bit of difference, right? PSG Ultras are not like German Ultras, because the user model in Germany for the football club is the fans own the club. So you don't get ultras like you do in like PSG or in Marseille that don't care, that will be violent and destroy things. The ultras in Germany, all of those people in there will call out all the other people because they own the football club. They're the people that own it, the fans. You can't. So that way, the football clubs stay sort of united with the fans, and there's certain things that's in Germany that's so much better than everywhere else in the world. I love the PSG ultras. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. But if you think about it, if you're in a stadium and all the whole ultras are going, and half of the ultras own the football club, they ain't going to riot. They ain't going to bash anybody. They're not going to do anything like that because they own the football club. It's so different. It's such a different way of thinking. The PS ultras were chasing Messi and Neymar all the way to, yeah. But you see, if they own the football club, they wouldn't be doing that. If those ultras Like, well, like in Germany, where the German fans own the football club, well, half of it, it's 50% rule, they wouldn't be allowed to do that. The other fans would never let them do that, ever. So that is the different levels of accountability. Money has taken over the American franchises. Yep. Watch. The American franchise is going to come in the form of the Super League. It will happen. It's going to happen. All of these. Why do you think they keep trying to get teams to play league games over in America? Why do you think, like I'm talking about the stadiums, are all, I talk about it all the time. Generic player out wide. It's just generic. Doesn't matter who he is. Generic stadium. Etihad Stadium. It's got no character. There's no ultras. You're not worried about going to the Etihad. Arsenal. Tottenham. West Ham Stadium. They're all just generic stadiums. They're all just, who cares? Like, just stadium. They can play at any stadium in the world now. It doesn't matter. They've got rid of all of the football culture. It's all gone. Oh yeah, the AC Milan. I do. I have a soft spot for AC Milan, by the way. I really do. Not good. Why America's cannot. America's got one of the best development leagues in the world up to the age of under 16. I'll tell you that right now. The biggest problem America's got is they don't have a pyramid. So you'll understand this, Joey, because when you say it to English people, they just don't have a clue. So I've coached players that have been US national team players, captains for the youth team, okay? And the only reason why they didn't go over to Europe to be pro is, honestly, mummy and daddy issues. Couldn't really leave the family, wasn't used to it. Otherwise, they'd have been over in America, in England playing pro. The difference with the American system and the reason why they don't build great players is because of college. That's it. You say that in Europe, people don't understand. When you are coaching football in America, the American parents are smarter than the English parents. People won't like to hear that, but they are. What they'll do, from the age of 8, that kid is going to Ohio State or Michigan State. That's where their family's gone. The sports is a vessel to get them there. They know that the vehicle to get them there for a full ride or a full scholarship at Harvard or Yale or all this, their grades must be perfect, and they use the sports to pay the way. Because they can be a doctor, a dentist, or an attorney, guaranteed, and make 1 to 5 million for the rest of their life. The chance of them making and being a sports professional is so small, they won't risk their children's future on it. They will in England. England, they don't really care about their kids. Yeah, my kid's going to be pro. Oh, he broke his leg at under 18s and now he's never going to kick a ball again. But what about his education? What about his life? He could have just done all that and become a doctor. Oh, no, didn't think about that. Didn't think about that. So when you realise Arsenal's waiting list for a ticket is 6 months. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. So when you think about it, most players in the United States really stop their development about 16, 17, because in the college scene football isn't really about player development or being good. It's about keeping your ride and finishing college. Because the education is more important, because that can give them a pathway for the rest of their life. Not this moonshot of maybe being a professional football player or professional sports athlete. Maybe. And the 0.001% chance of them playing in the Premier League. It's crazy. But you know what they've got a 100% chance of doing? Making a D1 school with a full ride. That I'll do that. I'll become a math professor, and I'll have an easy life being a math professor and making 200k a year. That sounds good. And that's the American model. If the American model changed and starts having a tier system where they're, by the way, I proposed this in the US Federation. I can remember they used to try to have, I've said this before, they used to try to have meetings at the US Soccer Federation before I got there because, and I'm not going to name drop him, but he was coaching the men's US national team at the time. And he said, no, we got to hold the meeting because he's not there. And they're like, but why we got, because he goes, because when he speaks, everybody in the room listens because he talks sense. And they told me afterwards. I was like, oh, yeah, cheers, mate. Yeah, thanks. But if you wanted to make to change America in 5 years, you make one simple rule. One rule change would make America the most dominant football country in the world. One. Just one. Every single youth football team in America, football club in America, must, on a Saturday, put out a men's and a women's competitive team on Saturday to kick off at 3 o'clock in a league. And America would take care of the rest, because America is about one thing: winning. So all those youth teams that have got their under 18s going for national championships and state championships and playing in the Disney Cup and all this stuff, they've got to put out a men's team. And when that men's team starts losing, they'll bring their under 18s team in and put them in under 18s team, and then they'll start winning. And everyone will start competing and fighting, and it'll just take over. It'll just explode. It'll just 5 years, it'd be mad. Yeah, they'll just compete. Can you talk about the NBA? What? And the baby mama issues with the players going on to... Oh, no, that's drama. That's drama. Yeah, even though that might be funny, that's not something I'd cover here. Yeah, so that's the main thing in America. They could just take it over with that one rule change. Simple. I could put one rule change in and change all of the Premier League as well, and make the Premier League the most competitive league in the world. I'll talk about this again at some point, but if you only gave a wage cap of £100,000 a week, but you can pay anything you want if you win a football game. So you've got to win. If you win, you can get paid whatever you want. But if you lose, the maximum you could get paid was £100,000. Rashford, Garnacho, all these Manchester United players that weren't playing, sitting on £350,000 a week, they could only get 100 grand a week. They wouldn't be sitting there wasting. They'd be, get me in that team. Why are you losing? You're taking my money off me. I need 350 grand a week, not 100 grand a week. Get me on the field, coach. Get me on the... It would change. The whole dynamic would change. Think of all those Arsenal players that are over 100 grand a week. Odegaard and 100, close to £200,000 a week. And they're losing to Liverpool. And they're only going to get paid half their wage now. Watch how hard they try in the last 5 minutes of that football game, because they're only going to get paid half their wage. Oh, yeah? You want to put competitiveness in it? That's how you do it. There's a little bit more to it than that, with draws and Champions League, 2 games in a week and that sort of stuff. That's a simple rule change. You do it. But I am going to call it a night there, boys and girls. I will say... good night in the chat. Oh, yeah. Man United's a wreck of a club. I could fix that club in 10 minutes. Oh, yeah. Think about it. It would change the world. Like, if you just did that, it would just change straight away. And here's the other important thing. Did you know, other than the top 6 teams, no other team has a player on 100,000 anyway? So the Evertons wouldn't get affected, the Wolves wouldn't get affected, the Burnleys wouldn't get affected, the Brightons wouldn't get affected. Chelsea would, Man City would, Man United would, Arsenal would, Liverpool would, and Tottenham would. Yeah, it would change the league. Change the league. And then you can also do some weird stuff where you can get really creative. Think of it this way. The most you can earn is, say, 100 grand, right? So if you lose all your games, you're going to get, 3.5 mil, whatever it works out to be. However, if you win a game for me, instead of paying 100 grand, I'll pay you 500 grand, knowing that your team is shit, and you're only going to have to pay them 500 grand 4 times. So you could give people a massive wage bonus if they win the game for you, knowing that you're not often going to pay it. It can help those lower teams structure their wage salary so much better and easier, because they can have more money and flexibility to pay good players. And they can even rival then for in the transfer market for higher wage players. It would be so different, so different. You can do so much with it. But we will talk about that again probably next week. And let me know, guys, because I might do Monday Night Football on a Tuesday, or I might just keep it on a Monday night. I'm going to try to find a day in the week, either Monday or Tuesday, where I can be consistent as well. Because that's the hard thing. I do so much behind the scenes. I do so much work. I've got to back off soon. I really do. But those of you that are in my Patreon, bear with me, because you are going to have a full advanced tactical analysis course up to sort of a master's degree level will be coming to you for free over there. Well, for free, you're paying on your Patreon. And it will probably start November, January sort of time there. I've been putting some stuff up, but there's a couple of things I need to work out to do it better. with all the documentation, because the documentation is where it's at, not just the videos of how I can put that on. But that will be coming on there. So yeah, stay tuned for that. FFP and profitability was just to consolidate the Super League. It was just to make the Super League happen, just like VAR, just there to make the Super League happen. Because they want franchises. They don't want to get a club relegated because they lose billions. They want the American model. Yeah, that's what they want. But other than that, boys and girls, I will call it a night, and I'll see you next time.